Welcome to CNN Money Switzerland and our summer program tackling the megatrends of tomorrow. Now, the future of work is up in the air from the coronavirus pandemic. What will happen to the 40-hour work week, and can companies simply press the reset button? All this and more. I'm joined today by Monica Dell'Anna, who's the head of Adecco Switzerland. Now, you, interestingly enough, have taken over the role as CEO right in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. Tell us what that has been like, because I take it it's not your typical start to a new job.
It is not. It is a very special situation, and I must say I had some expectation when I started with this job, and this expectation has been then fulfilled in a very special way. The first one was very linked to our purpose, making the future work for everyone. And I saw from day one what this means. So like how we manage to give work to people and to provide companies with the right skills. During COVID, this is particularly important, and this will be important in the future even more, because as you know, and already today we have a higher unemployment. So the question of changing job and getting a job is becoming more important and will be relevant in the next months. Second, I wanted to see how an HR service company is dealing with digitalization, which is sort of my subject. And I found a company which is very well on the way. We were able to go in home office immediately, almost all of us, and it worked perfectly. And I also see the chance of going further with this digitalization. What can we do? And people have a much higher acceptance of this. So this expectation was also very well fulfilled. And then I was expecting to work with nice people, and I found great people. I found people, like in many companies, that could react very well, very positively to this crisis. We got much closer together, and we had a very strong will to come through this crisis.
And just going on from that, now there's so much talk from people about what is our workplace going to look like in the future? What is the new norm going to be? You personally, have you already seen some changes firsthand that you think will be there long term?
Definitely. I really think that's exactly the area, like workplace and how is the new normal. That's exactly the area where we have already seen a lot of changes, which will progress and which will even bring to a real revolution in this area. So I see three key trends driving this new normal. The trend number one is definitely home office. The second one is flexibility and autonomy. And the third one is digitalization. So home working. The ideal percentage of home office is around 50%, so this is what people say. 50% we would like to work from home. And what's interesting is that this is not only a work-life balance subject, it is the companies which are convinced that it brings to more productivity. So it's a very, very interesting observation there. Second point, autonomy. People want to look more at what their results are and not the hours they work. This will be a huge challenge for us all, because I think on both sides, again, this is seen as a very interesting trend. And the third point, digitalization, we mentioned already. It was a great kick, and both for internal processes and customer processes, we have seen in the last months an incredible development in every industry. If you look at financial services, for example, a lot of consultants working from home. And in our industry, as I mentioned, so this is really going to stay. And this is an evolution which will bring us, I think, to a situation which we couldn't have dreamed of.
But do you think that companies are willing to just hit the reset button? Because I think that some industries might still be locked in the past, or they could be more traditional, and it's just harder to make that shift. So what do you think about that aspect?
I think 2 points there. First, they are doing it already, and this is a very important part. So they had to do it. So they sort of experienced this. Second, they have to. They really don't have a choice. Why? Because the employees, they expect this. So if a company wants to stay competitive, they will have to think about how can I improve? What is office? What is my work environment? Is this really a physical office? How do I bring people together? Is this really the best way? Is this physical? It's not about people wanting this. It's also the question, this is really the future which will allow me to work at the next level. I'll do an example. We do every year an upskilling meeting with our management. This year in August, we decided to do it digital. Of course, we are cautious about COVID. Of course, this is one of the reasons. But the main reason is I'm convinced that with digital tools, you just get to another level in many, many things and many activities you do. So that's the kind of experiment we want to do. And so a company will have to do also because that's a very interesting data. 80% of people trust companies to do that. So you're asking, is that the state which should do this? Is yourself? Is like foundations? They're saying, no, it is my employer who is responsible for this, which is okay, the duty part. But the second nice part for us is they say, I trust them to do this. And this is something I think companies should really use in the future.
If there's going to be more of this trust aspect coming in the future, what will happen then to the 40-hour work week? Not having someone sit there physically in the office and letting them just spend a lot more time at home. What is going to happen there?
This is a great question and it's a very important point for the future. I see this as one of our main challenges. Why? Because this is a very nice idea to say, you know, you just are just judged with results and not with the time or based to the time that you are working. It's a very nice concept and I believe we will move in that direction. But it is an enormous challenge because, of course, it's much easier to just measure hours. And how do you measure results? How you communicate this with your employees? And this is, for me, a real transformation that will happen. Not much in the contracts and the legal part, much more in leading people and in this relationship that you have with your employees.
So what would you suggest as a way of measuring productivity? Because I think that many leaders and CEOs out there watching this might be thinking, I don't know what the best way is to get the right balance.
I think I don't have an answer to this because it's very, very individual. Like it depends a lot on the company, on the kind of activities, but depends a lot also on the person, on your employee you're working with. But I do again see the possibility, the help, the support of technology in doing this. I'm not saying like monitoring, measuring. This is a very, I'll say, delicate discussion. But I still think there are means where you can better judge people on the results, but it's something we will have to work on. There are areas where this already happens and where it's easier. For example, if you have a sales team where you can really judge on what's coming out, that's already today the reality. So we will have just to apply this experience to other sectors and to other activities, but it will be a challenge.
Adecco, as a recruitment firm, has done so much research into this new era of work and our future workplaces. But what is the company actually learning from its own research and applying to its own company? What are you seeing there?
As I said, we went immediately in home office in March, and we came out like in 2nd of June. So we were working in these models. We are now fostering this working model. We are trying to support our leaders to be able to lead in such a situation because it's different. If you have your people, your team in front of you is different. Being a company also in Switzerland, in all the world, but also in Switzerland, being a company in different locations, this is almost an imperative. I mean, we have to work this way, so in the distance. And this distance can also be between office and home, so I don't see the difference. So we are doing a lot in this area, supporting also leaders to wanting to do this. Second, as I said, digitalization. I've really seen in these few months how this pressure of continuing delivering meant that people were much ready to accept that many things are not done as they were done 5 months ago. I'm not talking 5 years ago, 5 months ago, and that's COVID, an incredible acceleration in this. So they are accepting this. We have redesigned processes, And I think we will keep them and we will go this way. And I'm really annoying with my people, like always not sending email, not printing stuff, just send me up the server, up the cloud. So it's like, and yes, this is, I think, the two main elements we are working on.
So you are prepared if employees do come to you and say, look, I don't want to be in the office full time. I only want to come in there for very critical meetings and spend most of my time at home. That is something that Adecco would be open to overall.
I would be more aggressive than that. I would say not only I'm open to that, I'm trying with my management team and with all my colleagues in leadership position, I'm trying to motivate them to do this proactively. Because I am in this percentage, which is very high, who believes that it is a better way of working.
Is this being welcomed across the board, across all your colleagues?
Because of the experience of the last months, there has been a much higher readiness to accept this. Because yes, we experimented it, we saw it is possible, but still, as you said at the beginning, there is somebody saying, no, but are we sure we should maybe, yes, check where people are and what they do. So I'm very optimistic that I'm seeing a lot of response. But I'm not naive, so I think we will have to proactively work. This is why I said I'm a bit more aggressive than saying when they come, like reactively. I think we have to be very proactive in this.
I know you call yourself an optimist, and during this coronavirus pandemic, of course, it's been a tough and challenging time for many. But if there was something that has been a big shock or a big change that you really value, what would that be?
I think I mentioned already this kick on the digitalization. That's for me really very important. But the other thing is, you saw this in every country almost, and I think in many companies. This just brought us together much more. This is an observation we did also at the group level, like in the whole world. We have different brands, and sometimes cooperating can be complicated. And during the crisis, it was like, yes, it's possible, we help each other, and this kind of cooperation, experimenting with this cooperation, I think was a very positive aspect of COVID.
Okay, well, Monica Dell'Anna, thank you very much for joining us today. It's a very big topic that we had to put into a nutshell, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me.